one of the uses of the SPT metalogs I hadn't actually mentioned, and this applies to a question that came up. Apparently, one or more of you mentioned this to Phil. Gee, couldn't we use metalogs for looking at our forecasts and then seeing how well we did relative to forecast after the fact, after we learn what actually happened? And it turns out, I just had an email not long ago for a published paper on exactly this topic. Radar Bratvold is a professor, as you can see on the bottom right, of investment and decision analysis at the University of Stavanger in Norway. And his particular research interest is in forecasting oil field production and how those forecasts deviate from what happens after the fact. And you can see from the title of his paper here and the actual you can go get this paper from the SPE Reservoir of Evaluation and Engineering. You can see from his title that he's found that these forecasts are optimistic and overconfident again and again. He was able to obtain data from, I think it's between 400 and 500 forecasts of oil field production made by actual oil and gas companies, mostly operating in the Norway region, but I think some more worldwide. And he was given, these forecasts all came to him in the form of a 1090 range. That is, at the time the forecasts were made, there was a 10% chance of being less than this. There was a 90% chance of being less than the 90% quantile. And then they also gave him a mean instead of a median. Now, they should have given him a median, but they gave him a mean. And he had between 400 and 500 forecasts of this sort. Oil field production, of course, has a lower bound of 0. And so what he did is he used the SPT log metalog to model the range of projections at the time these forecasts were made, and then he was able to compare that with the actuals and do a complete analysis of the level of the bias in forecasts. As you can see, this paper was co-authored by Eric Bickel, who's a professor at the University of Texas, Austin, also deals a lot in oil and gas production and exploration. And that's the bottom line. I mean, it's there. Here's a complete analysis that you can read. This was an unsolicited email. He just sent me the email. He said, "I've been using the metalogs a lot, Tom. I just wanted you to know." He says, "This is our first paper using the SPT metalogs, and we expect to do a second paper." And then interestingly enough, he also said, and these are his words, "The bottom line, I don't know how we would have done this work without the SPT log metalog." In other words, it is the thing that gave him the ability to do the research, because he needed a smooth continuous distribution to go through these points. And he found it, right? And found it to be very reasonable for the applications in question.